Hi, good morning. Today is the 32nd day of the Omer. It's Lev B'Omer, which Lev also is 32, but it also means the heart. And so today is the heart of the Omer. And I just wanted to sort of invite us into what does that mean to be at the heart of the Omer today, as we're about to tonight start celebrating Lag B'Omer, the day of great bonfires and celebration. So there's a lot going on in my heart, and I kind of want to try and speak from that place, because so often with any rituals, it's easy to just do it by rote, and then every once in a while, a ritual or a teaching or a part of the observance will fall into my heart. And it's always like my favorite moment is when it actually enters my heart. And so today, the Omer actually entered my heart, and I want to narrate a little bit from that space. We know that one of the major themes of the Omer itself, the counting of the Omer, this is the time we count between Passover and Shavuot. We count the 50 days between, is a theme of mourning right here at the beginning. Up until Lag B'Omer, which is happening tonight, we're in a state of mourning after Passover. And which is strange, because Passover is so festive and such a party. But we move into a state of mourning, and we're counting every day. So much of the mourning is trying to bring our attention to, I think, the power of what happens to us when we do take seriously life and death. The stance of mourning, when we have that stance as we approach reality, as we encounter our reality, is a very deep one. It's a very profound. Sometimes I get annoyed with the Jewish tradition that there's so much mourning involved. Like, there's so many times that we're in mourning periods and mourning holidays, and it feels heavy sometimes, but then sometimes it really drops into my heart, and I get it, and I so appreciate it. So I want to narrate from that place. And a big part of it for me is that a friend of ours, their child, who's almost 3 years old, was actually diagnosed with cancer right before Passover, and they have just so generously of spirit invited other people along the journey that they've been in of treatment for their beautiful child, and putting up a prayer for their beautiful child, Yakir Ephraim ben Rachel Devora. They've invited so many of us along with their experience of the encounter with the intensity of life and death. And so I wake up every morning, and it's like the first thing that comes to my mind, and I cry in the shower, and it's made me a better person. It's made me a deeper person, a realer person. It's made me appreciate my relationships, my husband, my children, just hugging my children, loving every minute and every ounce that I have with my children, because of this experience of an encounter with life and death. So that's one of the teachings, and so I'm getting this personal experience of it, and blessings to the family who's going through it for real. But I'm getting this very deep understanding of why our tradition, why our sages have set these time periods of mourning into place, is because we become such richer people through mourning. So what's the mourning about with Lag B'Omer? We know in the Omer, it's for the entire days up till Lag B'Omer was understood to be a period when the students of Rabbi Akiva, 24,000 students, died. These gruesome deaths, unknown what the cause was, more like a spiritual cause, that killed 24,000 of the greatest Torah scholars and spiritual leaders of the time. So it was this real devastation, and you have to understand that this was right after the period of the destruction of the Second Temple. In 20 CE till 100 CE, this period there, which already was a period of intense mourning. The destruction of the temple and the pain of that, and then we hear this next layer of mourning come in of these 24,000 students who have died. So this is understood to have like a really potent teaching for us. Shlomo Carlebach back in the 60s gave a really well-known speech at a conference, a gathering of spiritual leaders from around the whole world, and all these spiritual leaders from everywhere. And Shlomo talks about how after there's this Jewish idea in the Torah that says that a priest should not come into contact with death. And so that's why, you may notice Kohanim don't go into cemeteries. So our priests, even to this day, you could take the most unobservant Jew, but there's still, if he's a Kohen, he's not going to go into the cemetery for a funeral. He'll stand outside. The idea is based on this piece from the Torah that says our priests are not supposed to be encountering death, because our priests should be coming from a place of life and love. And so Shlomo says to this humongous thousands of spiritual people gathered for this spiritual conference, he says, after the Jewish people went through the Holocaust, there was such an intense encounter with death that they could no longer stand as in a priestly role in the same way. And so the young Jews who were coming up at that time, they went searching in the East. They went searching to other avenues and addresses for their spirituality, because the intensity of that encounter with death that the Jewish people had just gone through somehow pushed them away. And I think that, yes, there is, we have to find the right amounts of the medicine. We can't have, when we get too much of an encounter with death, it can hurt us, and it can break us. But just the right amount of that encounter can deepen us. And my hope is, and what I think is happening now, is that we're 70 years out, more than 70 years out from the Holocaust, 70 years of the establishment of the State of Israel. We're getting like a certain distance from it, where we can now kind of come back into engagement, and like a little bit of a distance from the traumas of death, and just to that sweet spot, right, in a balanced way of the encounter with death and dying, in a way that doesn't take us down, but in a way that deepens us and actually builds us up. I think it's an amazing thing that, we know that the baby boomer generation, that there was this humongous spike in children born and babies born after the war ended. So right now there's this, population explosion with the baby boomers, and those baby boomers are now reaching this really critical age. They're reaching their 70s. They're reaching retirement. They're reaching a place where they're encountering their own mortality. So we as a globe, as humanity and the consciousness of humanity, where the bulk of, that generation is now in a place where they're experiencing, what does it mean to encounter my own mortality? And I think it's probably making them into much deeper vessels and with much deeper perspectives. So how can we, and our tradition is giving us this opportunity to take in that deepened perspective that comes with an encounter with death? How can we really deepen into it and have our own lives enhanced? And I'm just, speaking for myself, and it has created so much love in me. That's why I wanted to talk about this at Lev B'Omer, at the heart of the Omer, where all that pain actually is rooted in a place of love. The whole reason that death is painful is because we love so much. We love life, and we love the people, our loved ones. And that's where the pain comes from. So if we can just follow the root down from the place of pain that we're encountering when we do encounter death, following that root down to the heart place of, wow, I'm feeling this pain because of the enormity of my love, because of the enormity of the beauty of that love, then that's the riches that we can get from this encounter. And of course, it makes total sense that as Lev B'Omer ends, we move into tonight to Lag B'Omer, the 33rd day of the Omer, which is a boom explosion of celebration, of fire, bonfires, and dancing, and huge spirituality as we celebrate the death of Shimon Bar Yochai, the great rabbi, kind of at the core of the originator of teachings about the Kabbalah, and bringing out the teachings of the Kabbalah and the mystical tradition out